Hello everyone, I welcome you to my lecture series on Law of Tort. In this lecture, we will try to understand relevance of mental element in tort. Broadly, mental element refers to intention, motive and malice. The question that we are going to throw light on in this lecture is whether mental element in the form of intention, motive or malice is relevant in determining whether an act in question is tortious or not. Firstly, we will discuss relevance of intention in tort. What is an intention? Basically, intention is an internal fact. It is something that goes into one's mind. Ordinarily, an action in the form of thought is an intention, whereas an external manifestation of thought or intention into reality is an action. And therefore, here we can say that whenever a person does something knowingly, he can be said to have done that intentionally. Now let's know what is law on the relevance of intention in tort. Under criminal law, intention to commit crime should necessarily be proved, for mens rea is an essential element constituting crime. In the absence of mens rea, no crime can be said to have committed. However, under law of tort, whenever a person knowingly commits breach of his legal duty and thereby inflicts injury, that is to say, thereby violates legal right of another without just or legal cause or excuse, law in such cases presumes the existence of intention. So, unlike in cases of crime, generally, under law of tort, existence of intention need not be proved separately as an essential element of tort, but it is presumed where a person knowingly inflicts injury on another without just or reasonable cause or excuse. Such kind of torts, we can refer them as intentional torts. For here, the person is knowingly inflicting injury on another. With an intention, he is causing injury to another, and in such cases, you need not prove element of intention separately. The plaintiff need not prove existence of intention separately, but law presumes its existence. Now, unlike in cases of intentional tort, there are cases of unintentional tort. Example, tort of negligence. In such cases, a person acting negligently does not knowingly inflict injury on another, but still he is held liable to make good the loss resulting to the injured person. It means that in cases of tort of negligence, liability arises even though injury resulting from negligent act is unintentional. It means that in cases of tort of negligence, intention is irrelevant. Many times, with reference to unintentional torts only, many times reckless behavior of a person results into injury to another person. In such cases also, a person acting recklessly can neither be said to have inflicted injury knowingly nor negligently. It is, in fact, his indifference towards the consequences of his act that causes injury to another. And here also, he is held liable to compensate the person wronged of his reckless act under law of tort. So, here we can say that, and secondly, such kind of reckless acts fall under the category of tort of gross negligence. So, under law of tort, in cases of gross negligence also, liability arises even though injury resulting from reckless act is neither intentional nor on account of negligence. It means that in cases of gross negligence like this, intention is irrelevant. Now, apart from these kind of unintentional tort, there is one more such kind of tort, and it is the cases of absolute liability. In cases of absolute liability also, liability arises even though injury resulting from the act in question is neither intentional nor on account of negligence. As such, in absolute liability cases also, intention is irrelevant. So, from the discussion so far, we can say that unlike crime, in cases of tort, generally intention is irrelevant. Now, let us discuss relevance of motive and malice in tort. What is motive and how motive is different from intention? Motive is an ulterior object or purpose of doing an act. Now, let us understand difference between intention and motive. Intention refers to immediate object of an act, whereas motive refers to ulterior object of an act. Secondly, intention need not be related to an actor. On the other hand, motive refers to some personal benefit or satisfaction which the actor desires. Now, let's understand this with the help of an example. A poisons B. Here, immediate object of A's act is to kill B. So, here we can say that A's intention in poisoning B is to kill B. So, the intention here is to kill B. Now, what is motive in this case? The ulterior object or purpose of A's act may be to acquire B's property by inheritance or under a will executed in his favor. So here we can say that the motive behind A's poisoning B may be to acquire B's estate. And so here it is a benefit or satisfaction we can say that A desires to achieve through his act of poisoning B. Now, let us understand what is malice and how it is understood in law. Ordinarily, malice means spite or ill will. It is a feeling of anger that a person has for other. And when this feeling of anger drives the person to cause injury to another, we can say that the person has acted maliciously. Now, under the law of tort, malice is understood in two different ways, or malice has been given two meanings. According to the first meaning, malice means intentional causing of injury. So here, whenever a person knowingly commits breach of his legal duty and thereby violates legal right of another without just or legal cause or excuse, in such cases, law presumes existence of malice. So here we can see that malice is understood exactly how intention is understood under law of tort. Now such kind of malice is also referred to as malice in law. So according to the first meaning given to the malice, malice is nothing but an intention and it is referred to as malice in law. Now according to the second meaning given to the malice, malice is an improper motive. So when the ulterior object of the actor is improper or bad, it constitutes malice, and such kind of malice is also referred as malice in fact. So according to the second meaning given to the malice, malice is nothing but improper motive and it is also called as malice in fact. Now since malice is nothing but improper motive, we will discuss what is law on the relevance of motive and malice in tort at a time. Now what law says, what is law with respect to relevance of motive and malice? Let's know. Generally, motive and malice both are irrelevant in tort. The general rule is that an act which is otherwise legal does not become illegal for being done with bad motive or malice. In the same way, an act which is otherwise illegal does not become legal for being done with noble or good motive. Now, the decision of the court given in Bradford Corporation versus Pickles throws light on the first part of the rule, which says that an act which is otherwise legal does not become illegal for being done with bad motive or malice. Now, let's discuss Bradford Corporation versus Pickles. Now, what are the facts of the case? Facts of the case. Respondent, this was an appeal before House of Lords. So, respondent Pickles owned a piece of land containing water stream in it, which supplied water to appellant's reservoir. Pickles sank a shaft into his land, which resulted in cutting off water supply to the Bradford Corporation's reservoir. Thereafter, Pickles approached Corporation and offered them to purchase his piece of land at an exorbitant price. Being aggrieved by this, Bradford Corporation sued Pickles and claimed compensation for the loss sustained by them from the act of Pickles. Now here, the question for consideration before the court was, should Pickles be made liable to make good the loss resulting to the Bradford Corporation from his malicious act of interfering with the water supply and thereby compelling the corporation to purchase his land at an exorbitant price? The House of Lords dismissed the appeal and held Pickles not liable. The court observed that the acts of Pickles constituted lawful use of his land. Whatever he did over his land, he exercised his legal rights over his land. Though motive of Pickles to compel the corporation to purchase his land at an exorbitant price was malicious, the court ruled that malice or bad motive does not render an act in question illegal if otherwise it is legal. Now, second case that we are going to discuss here is South Wales Miners Federation versus Glamorgan Coal Company. This is also an appeal before House of Lords, and a decision given by the court throws light on the second part of the general rule, that is, an act which is otherwise illegal does not become legal for being done with noble or good motive. Now let's know what is the case. South Wales Miners Federation versus Glamorgan Coal Company. Let's first know what were the facts of the case. South Wales Miners Federation was a trade union formed to protect interests of the miners. Now, in this case, the wages paid to the miners were based on the price of coal. When Federation feared the wages to fall too low with the falling price of coal, it appealed the miners to abstain from work on certain days. Now, this led several miners to break their contract. Being aggrieved by this, Glamorgan Coal Company sued the Federation for procuring breach of contract. Now, here the question for consideration before the court was whether Federation was justified in procuring breach of contract, for its motive behind the act in question was to maintain price of coal high so that the miners would get high wages. It means that here the motive behind Federation's act was very noble. It was very good. It was to benefit the miners only. However, House of Lords dismissed the appeal, holding Federation liable for procuring breach of contract. The House of Lords observed that procuring breach of contract is an actionable wrong unless there is justification for the interference by way of legal right. Even though action of Federation was not malicious, rather it was done with a good or noble motive, which was to secure high wages to the miners, still Federation was unjustified only. So, the ratio of the case was an act which is otherwise illegal does not become legal for being done with good or noble motive. So, from the discussion so far, we can say that generally motive and malice are irrelevant in tort. However, there are certain exceptions to the general rule that mental element is irrelevant in cases of tort. Now the exceptions to the general rule as to the relevance of motive and malice in tort. Motive and malice are relevant in certain specific kinds of tort. For example, deceit, malicious prosecution, and in cases of defamation also, sometimes where defense of fair comment or qualified privilege is taken by the defendant. So here we can say that generally motive and malice are irrelevant in tort, but in exceptional cases like deceit, malicious prosecution and certain cases of defamation, malice or motive becomes relevant. I hope you have understood the topic we have discussed in this lecture. Thank you.